Hello, and welcome to Life Balance Coach, where we always ask, how can you achieve a well-balanced life? Now, our objective here, as you may have heard in previous episodes, is to actually achieve enlightenment in your daily lives, how you go about living your life, the understanding, the comprehension of what it is that you do, why you do it, what is the reason behind it, and how can you change it if you don't like it. Now, in the past, in a previous episode to be exact, you may have heard us speak about meditation and the art of meditation and the benefits of meditation in strengthening your mind. Now, that comes in direct correlation to what we're going to talk about today. I call it the argument. It's where you get into these arguments with individuals, and by and large I'm talking about that special someone, that love of yours, your spouse, your partner, where you just simply don't understand the meaning of the argument. You come away from the argument either during the argument or post-argument, and if you're enlightened enough, you ask the question of what was the argument about. You don't actually are not trapped within the argument or the message of the argument, but because by and large you've come to that realization that for the most part the subject matter of the argument is not the underlying reason for the argument. I'm going to give you a very short example, a history of something that just recently happened to me, and I'm going to give you two methods in which to come out of that argument or a so-called argument. Recently I visited my girlfriend, and as I entered her home, she wasn't too happy in that day. Something must have happened. She motioned me to go into the kitchen and prepare the dinner while she went upstairs and took her shower. I prepared dinner, I set the table. Once she came downstairs, we sat down at the dinner table and I began very pleasant conversations, nothing that's going to trigger anything for that matter. She moved forward to ask a question of me, at which point I responded to the question. Her response in return was that, Edward, do not dismiss the question, answer the question. Do not play these games of superiority or what have you. And I once again answered, and back and forth this went, answering question back and forth, and things got a little heated, out of context, and next thing you know, World War III has begun. The barriers and the borderlines have been set, and we're firing missiles back at one another, and within a minute some of those missiles are actually getting through and hurting one another. During this time, and throughout this time, I'm actually quite aware of the fact that, one, I don't know the reason for this argument. Two, I don't want to be in this argument. How am I going to get out of this argument? And method one came into focus in my mind. It is at this time that you actually change the focus of the individual by changing the subject matter. And you do this by applying love, distraction. You can kiss the individual, you can hug the individual, you can change their focus completely. And I thought this was a wonderful step for me to take. I moved forward to kiss her, at which point the response was quite negative and a slap came across the face. Not in truth, but for all intents and purposes, that was what I felt it was. Now, method number two, which I began to think in my mind, okay, I've got to take that method now. Method number two is a little bit more risque, but it is far more capable of achieving your goal. And that is to, as the person is arguing with you, you begin to take items of clothing off. And you continue to take items of clothing up until such time as the person, now absolutely distracted by this, changes their focus and comes out of the focus of the argument. With all my years of experience and all my education and understanding and coaching, I failed to actually take this next step. In fact, I continued to argue. The result being, 2 minutes later, that I found myself outside the home with no more dialogue, and at this point both of us had lost the argument. Now, I have provided you with two methods in which to change the argument, change the focus of the argument, and come out of it. But more important, if you had gone back to our previous lesson of meditation and the strengthening of the mind, you would have been able to actually follow through with that notion. So I encourage you to continue to practice your meditation, practice using some of these methodologies to come out of arguments. At the end of the day, you never know. It could be quite fun and entertaining later on. Have yourself a wonderful day. Keep us posted with your remarks, your comments. Give us any feedback, or even pose questions that you want to see answered on these series. I wish you a good day and happy journey. Take care.